Namaste, hello, and welcome back to another video on Hamsavahini Vajraasthra. I'm Awhona, and today's video is going to be about my TBR as well as pilot possibilities for the April Readathon, which is People April Readathon. Now, People April Readathon is a fresh readathon which has been created by Elisabeth from bookish and it has been co-hosted by Ross from Scully Dangling About Books. I'll leave a link to the announcement videos in the description box below as well as in the overhead cards above for all of you to cross-check. So do please join me further in this video. So now let's come around to what this readathon is all about. So all we have to do is read any one book which involves a famous personality, and it could be a biography, and it is basically about reading the lives of people. So it could be a biography, it could be a memoir, it could be letters, or anything which involves people or a person. So there is a group book which has been selected this year, and I also would like to mention that I have all the information written in front of me, so I'll be referring to it from here on. So the group read is called The Five: The Untold Lives of the Women Killed by Jack the Ripper by Hallie Rubinholtz, and this is basically about 5 women from 5 different places who were killed in the year 1888 for no reason, and it has been generalized that it was Jack the Ripper who was the murderer and who was involved in this murderous scandal. But there is more to this entire Jack Ripper story. So this is what the historian Hallie tries to unfold. So it's a very interesting book, and it has won lots of awards in the year 2019. So that will be the group book for this readathon. Now, let me give you a brief overview of what my TBR is based around. Now, there is another readathon which will be ongoing simultaneously in the month of April, which is the Trans Girl Readathon, and I am participating in that readathon as well. So, as you must have guessed, my TBR is based around the transgender community in India as well as the queer community all around the world. So specific personalities and how they have coped while they were transitioning from man to trans women, or from woman to trans man, and the non-binary community, as well as monks who are LGBTQ activists and who have Buddhist monks, that is, and who have also contributed and made it a way of life, and they have been recognized for it as well. So there are a number of prompts which I have tried to base my books around, but one of the key books that I will be reading is called Transgender in India, Achievers and Survivors, an Ode to Trans Women, which has been written by Dr. C.K. Garyani, who is an IS officer, and Priyadarshini Rajkumar, who is the head of a charitable trust, which is the Saraswati Educational Charitable Trust. And these two women who have brought all these community members together, who have actually succeeded and survived various challenging situations, and this is what this book encompasses. So there are a number of personalities who have been described. So I found this very appropriate, but because it has been written by a gender-specific author, so it did not really qualify for the other readathon, but I'm reading this specifically for People April Readathon. Now, some of these personalities who are mentioned in this book also are mentioned in a particular video, which I'll leave the link of that video in the description box below, and also in the overhead card above, which you can definitely see. And they are all the survivors and achievers from the transgender community in India, and where they have reached despite the challenges, and despite the laws, and how they fought for their rights as well as their laws, and they're still fighting. So this is the first book that will be on my TBR. Now let's come around to the prompts. Now the first prompt is someone will remember us in another time. So I have chosen two books for this particular prompt. The first is This Monk Wears Heels, Be Who You Are, written by Kodo Nishimuro. Now Kodo Nishimuro is a LGBTQ plus activist, and he is an ordained Buddhist monk. He was first featured, and he rose to fame actually, when he was first featured in Cure I, We Are in Japan, and that helped him to bring out his idea of using makeup and art as a reason to put forward modern Buddhist thinking, as well as accepting the queer community, and the queer community specifically to accept Buddhism and how they can face life being the original way that they are. So this is an excellent book, and I'm really looking forward to reading this. Also, there are a few videos which I have linked and shared in the description box below, and I'll also try and attach at least one video in the information cards above, because obviously there are only 5 information cards that we can attach. Now there are approximately 3 videos for this particular personality whom I did research on from YouTube, of course, and I've already subscribed to his channel, and I have gone and researched about him as well. So I will suggest that you go through these videos in case if you're interested about Kodo Nishimuro. So that's the first book that I'm reading for this prompt. Now there is another book which I'm reading for this prompt, and that is We Are Not the Others, Reflection of a Transgender Artivist, not an activist, artivist, by Kalki Subramaniam. Now Kalki Subramaniam is an artist. She is also an actor. She is a transgender she is from the transgender community. She also is the founder of the Sahodari group, which supports transgender, and she is an LGBTQ plus activist as well. She has used art as well as literature to co-create and to educate transgender communities so that they can contribute and change the thinking pattern and the thought process of the society, as well as fight for their rights through their work of art. So this is very, very interesting. Now I'm not going to read out from the back of the book, because that will encompass everything that's written. It's actually written in prose, and there's a lot of artwork which is given as well, pencil art that is. So I'll be sharing more about this book as soon as I complete it. It's a very simple book, and it's very short, written in prose, so I should be able to get through it very quickly. And I have tried to append 3 of the videos in which Kalki Subramaniam has given a talk on TEDx, and at different points of time, of course. So if you are interested, you can definitely cross-check with them. I'll just leave the link to one of them in the information card above, but the rest of them will be in the description box below, so you can definitely check on that. So these are the 2 books that I'm reading for prompt number 1. Now the next prompt is Let Them Eat Cake. And it's a very interesting quote, so which can be interpreted in myriad of ways. Now there are 2 books which I'm reading for this particular prompt, and the first one is about the first transgender principal in a government college in Calcutta or Kolkata, and that is Manabi Bandyopadhyay, A Gift of Goddess Lakshmi. So she happens to be the first transgender principal of a government college, and she has really done very well. She has appeared in lots of platforms, and she is also working towards the transgender community and their rights and their freedom of speech. And from the back of the book, it reads as the extraordinary and courageous journey of a transgendered person to define her identity and set new standards of achievement. When a boy was born after two girls in the Bandyopadhyay family, everyone rejoiced. However, it wasn't long before the little boy began to feel inadequate in his own body and started questioning his identity. Why did he constantly feel like he was a girl even though he had male parts? Why was he attracted to boys in a way that girls usually are? What would you do to stop feeling so incomplete? It was clearly a cruel joke of destiny which the family refused to acknowledge. But unknown to them, the boy had already embarked on his journey to become Manobi, the quintessential female as nature had meant her to be. With unflinching honesty and deep understanding, Manobi Bandyopadhyay tells the moving story of her transformation from a man into a woman, about how she continued to pursue academics despite many upheavals and went on to become the first transgender principal of a women's college. And in doing so, she not only defined her own identity but also inspired an entire community. So that's the first book that I'm reading for this prompt. Now there is a video which does portray her journey as well, which I have linked below in the description box as well as in the overhead cards above, should you like to cross-check with that. Now, the next book that I'm reading is from a very famous transgender activist who is Lakshmi Narayan Tripathi, and this is the book called Red Lipstick, The Men in My Life, and this is about how she identifies herself as a transgender and as a woman and her struggle with it, how she realizes that she is a woman trapped in a man's body, how she deals with her femininity, as well as how she is treated by the world. Also, she was from the Brahmin community, and therefore there was a lot of upheaval, and because obviously Brahmin community is a very strict community, and they are very strict, they have very strict laws, and she had to break all those laws and go out of the way. She also went to the Supreme Court to fight for the LGBTQ plus rights, and there were laws which were passed in favor of the LGBTQ plus community because of that. And she was also the founder of one of the famous transgender community Hindu community sects as well. So she has been a very strong and a famous face in the transgender activist group, and I'll be reading this book which deals with how she discovers that she is a woman and trapped in a man's body, and how she deals with it. So that's what this book encompasses. Now the next prompt is have patience, go where you must, and hope. So for this I'm reading two books again. The first book is called The Maid and the Queen, The Secret History of Joan of Arc by Nancy Goldstone, and I have coupled this book up with second quarter of Historathon, which I'm also participating in, and this is a revisionist history wherein the entire personality of Joan of Arc has been seen from a different point of view, as well as the fact that not only was Joan of Arc a person who could hear angels and the commandments of saints, but there was also the ruler of Yolande, the Queen of Aragon, who was a part of the success story of Joan of Arc. So it is a story about how these two women changed the entire history of France. And the first chapter in this book is called The History of Gay Science, or something of that sort. So there is a lot of debate as to whether Joan of Arc actually belonged to the LGBT community or not. So there's a lot of debate and controversial information as well, but it's written very beautifully, and I'm quite interested in getting my hands on this one. So that's one of the books. There is another book which I am reading, which is called Home Remaking in a Transgender Marriage by Kristen K. Collier. Now, this is about a wife who has to change her entire approach and reorganizing and she has to reorganize her home in order to ensure that her husband, who realized later on that he's transgender, starts transitioning from man to a woman, and how she copes up with it, what changes she has to make in her lifestyle, and how after the transition both co-parent their child. So it's very interesting, and I found this entire memoir as I can't say it's a memoir, but this book sounded very interesting as to a wife's journey in accepting and helping her husband to transition from a man to a trans woman. So that's the next book that I'll be reading for this particular prompt. Now, the last prompt is stupid is knowing the truth, seeing the truth, but still believing the lies. So it's a very interesting prompt, and I have also chosen two books again for this particular prompt. The first one is Becoming Eve, My Journey from Ultra-Orthodox Rabbi to Trans Woman by Abby Stein. And I found this book very interesting. The title explains it all. And an ultra-Orthodox rabbi facing his entire teachings and his lifelong dedication, and then transitioning to become a trans woman. I found this very challenging and very interesting. There's nothing much that I have to talk about except that the title explains it all. So that's the first book that I'm reading. And the second book is called Unicorn, the Memoir of a Muslim Drag Queen by Amru Al-Qadi. Now, I did have this book on my shelf for quite some time, and I've not really got around to picking it up and reading it, so I found this as a perfect opportunity. So from the back of the book, it reads as, my name is Amru Al-Qadi by day. By night, I am glam raw, an empowered, fearless, and acrobatic drag queen. This is a story of how I went from a strict Iraqi Muslim household to standing on a stage in 7-inch heels. It is about my teenage obsession with marine biology and how fluid aquatic life helped me understand my non-binary gender identity, about my 2-year scholarship at Eton College, during which I wondered if I could forge a new a new identity. I'll read that out again. So it is about my 2-year scholarship at Eton College, during which I wondered if I could forge a new identity as a British aristocrat, which of course didn't work, about discovering the transformative power of drag while at university, and about how after years of rage towards it, I finally began to understand Islam in a new and a pure way. Most of all, this book is about my mother. It's the journey of how we lost and found each other, about forgiveness and understanding, hope, and lifelong search for belonging. So this is a very interesting book, and this will be the second book that I'm reading for this prompt. So those are the few books that I will be reading for People April Readathon. Do let me know what you think about them, and if you have read about them before. Also, please make sure to check with the video links in the description box below about most of the personalities that I have shown or revealed in this particular video about whom these books are all about. So if you want, you can go researching on them, and if you would like more information, do let me know in the comment section below. I will try and leave links and specific websites in which you can find more about the transgender community, as well as specific personalities whom you would like to probably follow or would like to come in contact with. And also, in case if you have read any of these books, do let me know what you think about them. So that's all I have for you today. I will be back once again with another video. So till then, take care, have a good reading week ahead, and namaste.